Hi, it's Chuck Gilmore with Power to Sing Live, and I'd like to welcome you to our broadcast this afternoon. And we're going to be talking about becoming the pathway to great singing, simple and fast. Should be interesting. I'd like to welcome you here today and hope that we have a good time. As soon as you get a chance, let me know if you can see me and hear me. So we're in the final seconds of our pre-show show, which I'm kind of late to today, but in a moment we'll be starting officially. So hey, Subia and Berno, awesome. Sounding and looking okay. Thanks. Great. All right. It's top of the hour, and I'm Chuck Gilmore with Power to Sing. Today we're going to be talking about the pathway to great singing, simple and fast. So, is there something a little bit conflicting or contradictory about a pathway to great singing, simple and fast? Well, anyway, we'll talk more about that. Wow, got lots of you are coming on. Great to see you guys. And so the bridge, awesome. Nice to have you with us today. Thank you. I appreciate the feedback on being able to see and hear. Um, and so, hey, Sarah Joyce Roberts, hello. How are you doing? Great to have you here with me today and with our group. Okay, so
Which Sarah? Sarah Stoker, Sarah Bernards, Sarah Henry, or
Sarah,
Sarah B.
Siri thought I was talking to her. Okay, let me see if I can set her back down again and not get her involved. Okay, so has that happened to anybody before? Hey, Joe, nice to have you with us today. So here we go. Let me ask you this, you guys. Is becoming a great singer simple? Is it like fast to do? I mean, can you figure out how to do it fast? Let me know what you think about that because I'd like to hear your feedback on that. We're going to talk more about it today, and I've got some ideas about maybe how we can do that. But at any rate, please let me know what you think is learning to sing, learning really to be a great singer, something we can do simple and fast. So there's a story that you guys have probably heard me talk about before, but Pavarotti is being interviewed by a gentleman. No, not fast or easy, Joe says. Sarah says, ha 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 ha. And oh, that's probably about my about my relationship with Siri. So he's being interviewed, and he says, now, you can't really be a great tenor. And then he shows him what good tenors can do, but a really great tenor. So a good tenor has got to be able to say, "Ah," and he goes a little wide. Of course, he did it a lot more, uh, a lot better than that. But then he says, to be a real tenor, you've got to, I think he calls it cover. I call it bridge or a mix there. And he says, oh. And he said, now again, I'm not doing it half as good as, or nearly as good as Pavarotti. And he said this, it just blew me away. That maybe sound easy. He said that might sound easy, but take maybe 10 years. And I thought, are you kidding me, Pavarotti? That took 10 years for him to develop that voice. And that kind of put a whole new thought process into my feeling about trying to get things moving along faster. Okay, so Adala SM says, no, no, especially when you're sick or your voice for 2 months of cracking and can't do a high note. Yeah, and that's true. You take into consideration life, where you get sick, you have other demands. If you're a singing professional, then that maybe is different a little bit because your whole day is built around your voice and your performances and so forth. Um, but that's a really good point. Burnout says the trouble is that the term great singer is so subjective, and it really is, isn't it? It may be better to consider simply saying the best you can be. I think that's a really great insight. Adela says, there are no doctors in Egypt who can understand what I have. And that's got to be frustrating to not be able to find anybody that can help you. Subi says, I mean, it's not that fast, but if you put your 100%, then maybe it is, but still it takes 4 to 5 months. For me to develop a strong chest voice took around 3 to 4 months, and I still have to work on it. Yeah, Subia, and what we tend to do kind of hangs around a long time. Um, and so, if we live with years and years of muscle memory, sometimes it's probably not realistic to really think that we're going to get rid of it in minutes or hours or even days or months or maybe even years. Okay, so when I thought about simple and fast though, suppose, well, first of all, do you think that Pavarotti um, didn't sing at all, or didn't sing the F until he had that magnificent sound? No, obviously, the whole time he was working on that F above middle C, I'm sure he was engaged completely and fully in his professional career. And he doesn't talk about when the interviewer did not ask him, was this before he began his profession? I'm assuming that he worked on his voice while he was a professional opera international star, and that it got better over time. In other words, he was refining and improving as he was performing. I doubt that he waited until it was perfect to start. So he's not, I don't think he's saying that you can't or shouldn't sing until it's, absolutely perfect. Um, but let's put it another way. Suppose Pavarotti had suppose it would have, if he hadn't have been working on it appropriately and wisely and correctly with the teacher or whatever he was doing, suppose that it never happened for him, then how fast is 10 years? It's pretty fast. Suppose it had taken 20 or 30 years, but he did it in 10. Then, in that context, 10 years is quite a bit faster. It sounds a lot better than 20 or 25 or 30 years. Now, those of you who've heard my own story know that when I was 43, I started discovering this technique. I had not sung a solo for over 20 years. Imagine that. I think about that and I think, oh my goodness sakes. But I remember feeling the heartache. There were times when I could feel it. So 10 years would have been great if I'd just only had a 10-year a 10-year fast from singing, or a 10-year hiatus. But it was something that I purposely withdrew from because I was never satisfied with my voice and had some bad experiences. Burnout says it's a good point. Do you perform now knowing your voice training isn't fully 100%, or wait until you believe you've got the proper ability and confidence? If we do, a lot of us, at least I would have, I don't know when I would have started, maybe in 2012 or 2011. That's when I feel like things really happened well. And now I'm starting to get this little reflex thing. But I have a different situation. I play musical theater, and at my age, now I'm getting old, grumpy men parts like Scrooge, and you know, um, so it's not so bad if there's a little scratch or something. But if you're playing a romantic lead, you can't have that little scratchy sound in your voice. So anyway, I divert. Um, okay, so but if we let's I just wanted to compare this to, let's say, Arnold Schwarzenegger, for example, Arnold Schwarzenegger started lifting weights, according to the internet, which Wikipedia, you don't know if that's completely accurate, but it said he started lifting weights when he was 15. By age 20, well, by age 19, he competed for Mr. Olympia and lost to the three-time world champion, Sergio somebody. He came back the next year in 1970 at age 20 and won. So for him, he was already competing at a very high level after, now who knows when it says he really started lifting weights at age 15. I don't know if that's like competitively, strategically, aggressively working. That's when he started, or if he started when he was a younger kid and just, started playing around with weights, maybe when he was 12 or 13 or whatever. But between 15 and 20, so that's only 5 years. Now, he probably had some medical assistance with those years in building the mass that he built and so forth. So 5 years to get his body in a condition where he could compete and win Mr. Olympia. We tend to think that for whatever reason, the vocal cords are going to, and it's not just vocal cords, is it? It is vocal cords, obviously, but there are other factors in our singing, and other factors in our performing, other things we have to deal with. Hey, Horizon is here. Nice to see you. Great to have you here today. And so, what about you guys? What else do you find tends to slow the whole process so that it's not quite as fast as you would like? There's something about being a human and singing that creates this vulnerability that, the psychology of singing that it's just, we're working on a lot of different things, not just those little vocal cords. And a lot of times that's kind of slows us down. Romulo Fresto Jr., hi, great to have you here today. He said, hi Chuck, when listening to a song, how do I know if a certain part is done in mix? I can identify chest and head voice, but not mix. Can you demonstrate a short sample of mix? Thanks in advance. Well, first of all, it's helpful to know what the pitch is. So I have a little pitch pipe. It's in my office on the other side of the wall here, but with my piano here, if I'm listening, I can just listen to the pitch. And if it's a guy singing and he's in E, F sharp, I know that's right in the bridge of the voice. And so knowing where the bridges are is really important as far as really being able to pick up whether or not they're in mix or not. So let's just talk about mix in the bridges. I can see that there is mix probably everywhere, but it's a lot easier to identify mix in a bridge. So if someone's in a mix, let's talk about what they're not doing. They're not pulling the chest voice high. They're not in falsetto. There's balance in the voice, so it doesn't seem to be an extreme, and the larynx isn't extremely high or it's extremely imposed down. And there's good balance between the air and the muscle and the chord structure. Those are all things that are present in mix, but what is not in mix is there's not pulled chest, because if there's pulling the chest voice up, they're not in mix. They're in the pulled chest. They're pulling their chest voice. If they're in falsetto, there's no chest to mix in. So, and if there's certain, so the very fastest, quickest, easiest way to determine what mix sounds like is to listen and be aware of the pitches for the men's bridge, which is E, F sharp. For the women, A, B flat, B, C, the high C. The D sharp's pretty much all the way through. And so let me illustrate what a mix might sound like. If I said no, 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 that would be a mix. Now, this is not a mix. Oh, well, let me say this. The new will be a mix. I'm right on the F, right in the middle of the men's first bridge. No, 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 no. Now I'm going to go to no, but this time the no will not be in a mix. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. So in a pulled chest scenario, the vowel opens. The vowel starts to spread. No, 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 no. You can hear how that vowel went from no and opened up. The vowel starts to it starts to we start to lose the purity of the vowel because it starts to spread, and now it doesn't sound like no anymore. It sounds like nah. No, 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 no. That doesn't sound like no or oh, does it? So that's one really fast way to determine what mix sounds like. And it's kind of to know what it doesn't sound like too. Thanks, Bruno. Okay, so let's talk about, I think we all agree that it's not necessarily fast, although maybe compared to 20 years or 25 years, 10 years is pretty fast. But what about simple? Simple is learning to be a really great singer, or as you know, Berno pointed out, to be the best you can be as a singer. To be the best you can be as a singer, is it really possible to be simple? Simple. Anyone who's takes who's got an opinion about it? Is becoming your best you can be as a singer really simple? I I will definitely say there have been periods in my life where I felt like it was very, very hard and mysterious. Now, I kind of have a different feeling about that now, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But what do you guys think? Oh, and say hi to Gun Goth. Yo, hi Chuck. Is there any other bridge there? Is there any other bridge there? My first A4 is really hard until I know what is going on with my voice. Yes, we have multiple bridges in our voice. My bridge is actually A, below middle C. A, B flat, B and C, C sharp. So I'm bridging down with the bassos, the tenors and baritones, and some basses bridge up here at the E, F, F sharp. The mid second bridge is where the ladies typically bridge, the sopranos and mini altos, the A, B flat, B, and C. And about every tritone, we get into another bridge, pretty much all the way up, just all the way off the charts of the piano. So yes, there are multiple bridges. The one that really matters is the first bridge. Our first bridge is if it's going really well, and if we're doing really well in that, then the second bridge falls into place rather quickly, and the third bridge does too. But if we're pulling and straining and tensing and struggling through the first bridge, the others are going to be the same or worse. Okay, so let's talk about, anybody had any comment about, is this simple to do? We know it's not necessarily fast, but how about being simple? I know I'm gonna propose that it depends. You know, is this simple? For me, it's simple. For some of my students, it's like the hardest thing I've ever seen. I mean, it's just like I can't understand why it's so hard. Well, I know why it's so hard because there's tension, it's awkward, some people are embarrassed by it. I mean, So those things make it harder. Um, sure, Ken, thanks. Now, okay, so um, what about simple? Simple, it may be simple, but perhaps it's not easy. Simple doesn't necessarily mean easy. I think this is simple. Nay, 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 nay. Nay, 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 nay. That's not hard for me. Now, it was probably harder years ago, excuse me, but um, for some people, that simple exercise isn't easy for them. And so that kind of throws a little bit of wrench in the works. It may depend on the song, like singing, yeah, Baa Baa Black Sheep is more simple than singing Ness and Dora. Good point. Yeah, the complexity is an issue. And so, yeah, so there are all these variations in singing that, you know, that Bruno brings up, and it's a great point, is that it may be a very challenging song. And so that's not going to be, but even then you could say, aren't those the first two notes or something like, I don't know if it's the right pitch, but Ness and Dora. So that's not too hard. That's pretty simple. But when you start putting them all together, it's not easy. Uh, okay, so Bruno says this depends on exactly what you want. My own goal is to regularly sing a G sharp in mix or belt, confidently and cleanly. I'm not there yet. Sarah Joyce Roberts says, in my case, no is easier. Yeah, and that's a good point. There are certain vowels and consonant vowel combinations that are easier for us to sing. And so all these different variations kind of make it a little more challenging. Romulo says, it's very hard to break bad habits in singing. Wow, what a great point. And when you get to learn the proper techniques, next hard thing is to sing song with emotions, observe the message of the song. You know, that's a great point. So there's so many different facets about singing that when on the face value seems simple, aren't necessarily easy. Horizon says, my chest voice range is somewhere between F2 to F4. I'm not sure if I'm a baritone or a bass baritone, but after a year of doing vocal exercises, I still can't sing higher than F4 without tension if I pull. Yeah, Horizon, you know, that was my situation exactly until I learned how to bridge. And well, I take that back. I would stop at the E4. I wouldn't go to the F4. I couldn't do it without yelling. So all I can do is use my mixed voice for higher notes. Still no expand in my chest notes. So you're talking again about that bridge area. And so again, he brings up a really good, I mean, it's a good way to highlight that something that seems quite simple is not necessarily easy. And in other words, you could say, that was easy, or that was simple. It was simple and easy, but it wasn't right. It was pulled chest. So there are certain simple things we can do wrong. And so now the simple isn't so easy after all because I simply did it wrong. So anyway, if I said, oh, at least I got some mix going there. So, but it took me a long time to get that much depth of vocal cord in it. So just simply sing those notes. Well, it's not so easy to be able to do them in terms of the quality of it. Someone's kind of brought that up already. But I said ma 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 ma. So those are notes that had taken a long time to be able to get that kind of strength and solidity in them. For many, many years, it took. It was like it got easier as I got higher. Now it's pretty much the same for me, but again, that wasn't a simple thing. But let me bring this to more of to a point here. What we do want to know is if there is a simpler way, if there is a faster way, if there is a way to make it easier, what is that? And how do we get to it? And that's when I think we begin saving time so that it becomes faster for us. And it may be 10 years instead of 20 or 30. It still may be 10. Maybe that's the fastest possible, no matter how great anybody is, including Pavarotti. Maybe that's as simply as fast as it could be. But by dialing into um, certain principles, I think we can speed the process up, even though it still may be a long time. Comparatively speaking, if you never find it, it may take forever. And so 10 years would be a bargain. 20 years would be, maybe you could, find your way through, stumble your way through to it. But by coming down into certain principles, and I want to talk a little about that. The bridge says it takes time to find out what works for your voice. Once you find it, then after 2 months, your voice changes again, and the cycle continues. You're a wise man, Altu. Okay. All right. So there's something called cause and effect that has had an impact on is a big impact on my teaching, but a big impact on my voice. For example, if you're a full chest, high larynx vocal type, then there are exercises that you can do that cause you not to pull the chest voice. There are exercises that cause you not to have high larynx. There are exercises that cause you to bridge, to blend from your chest into your head voice. And so that's a very, very powerful concept. I don't believe that my first teachers that I had in high school and college were aware of or knew which exercises to use or exactly how to cause things to happen in my voice that would have enabled me to start bridging, for example. and and yet if the teacher knows what exercises will cause certain things to happen in the voice and can then teach them as simply as possible to make it easier for the student to do them, then he may or she may be able to cause the right things to happen in the voice quicker, simpler, faster, easier. You see my point? So, in other words, yeah, Romulo Presto says, if you have a teacher, it comes faster. I completely agree. I think it's, well, let me just rephrase that. I had a vocal coach in high school, and I didn't ever sing above the E, above middle C. I had teachers in college who knew I could sing higher. At least one of them said that. He said, I know you can sing higher, but I just can't figure out how to get you to get there. And then one of the professors says, I know there's a way I could open up your voice. I just don't know how it is. Well, one had his master's, the other had his PhD. So there are ways. So I guess I'm saying, Romulo, even the vocal coach may not be simpler or faster or easier depending on the training. Because I've had those who were just trying something. They thought, well, this worked with this student. I'll try it with this guy, or this. I'll just throw something against the wall and see if it sticks. I'm not saying everybody's like that, but I am saying that I don't believe that every teacher is aware of this cause and effect concept that can kind of surgically apply a particular exercise with forethought and say, I'm going to give this to this student because I know it's going to get the lyrics down, and I'm going to enable that student to start bridging on the F and the F sharp. And I also know that if I tell them to do it quieter, there's not going to be as much air blast, which is going to decrease the tension. So all of these things combine into realizing that a teacher can have, with the exercises applied, can administer exercises that cause certain things to happen. So we have a cause and an effect. So if I said I want to lower the larynx, we said do this, please. Say do a dumb geek, duh, like Deputy Dog. Geek, 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 geek. Then the larynx stays down. Geek, 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 geek. So that's a cause and effect exercise. Now, I could say, do the dopey gee, and the student says, gee, 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 gee. Gee, 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 gee. The larynx goes up. Gee, 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 gee. That's when you begin to realize that you've got to help the student do it as demonstrated. So there's a number of factors that come into play, but just by administering the correct exercise to cause the action that you want in the student, to cause the effect of lowering the larynx, for example, in this case, without the vocal cords going into the condition of falsetto. Gee, 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 gee. Without that, by keeping the larynx down, we can speed the process. The process can be sped up. And so there are ways that we can make things a little simpler, maybe, and a little bit faster. Comments here. Daily practice, Murno says, and seeing regular, slow improvement helps a lot. And there is no question that that is the case, because we are creating muscle memory. If we're doing it correctly, we want good, we want positive muscle memory, and that over time is a tremendously powerful thing. Romeo says, if I get this new job that I am applying for, I might ask you, Chuck, for some lessons. Appreciate it if you could give me an idea of your rate per hour. So just, right off the top here, right now at this time it's $45 for 30 minutes, and you can go to my website, powertosing.com. Under the menu item, work with me, and then you can schedule a Skype lesson. Altu says, for teachers, I would prefer a teacher who gives me an exercise with a certain sound, and then when done right, which will make the necessary adjustments in my voice. Yeah, great point. Rather than a teacher that asks me to open my throat, raise my song out, gotcha, or put it in the mask. Yeah, sing it into the mask. Yes, because, and Altu brings up a really great point. If the exercises cause the thing to happen, you don't have to ask the student to do something that they can't do. Like if you tell me to raise my soft palate, I'm not sure if I'm doing it right, but I do know this: I'm introducing tension into my voice, into my musculature. There's more tension now because I've manipulated it. Yeah, and Mr. Riggs, Seth Riggs, he has a great story. He was talking about taking a voice lesson from somebody, and they kept saying, put it in the mask, put it in the mask. He said, I don't know what you mean. I don't know how to put it in the mask. And they said it again, put it in the mask, put it forward, bring it forward. And finally he said, you tell me where to put it one more time, I'm going to tell you where to put it. So the point is that oftentimes we're not capable of translating what that means. Put it in the mask. Where is the mask? Well, it's here. What is it? Well, it's the sound. How do I take sound and take it and put it somewhere here? How do I do that exactly? So anyway, it so those of you who've worked with me or even seen my videos, you'll know that I don't do that. I use exercises that cause the sound and cause the body to do those things. So it's a cause and an effect. I get an effect. And I think that's one way, everybody, just to draw a conclusion here, that it's possible to find a simpler and faster way of, great singing. So, the Brit says, "This is why I love yours and Justin Stoney's channel." Thanks. Um, yeah, Justin. Okay, so let's. I'm just gonna kind of try and wind this down over the next few minutes here, and address any other questions that might come up. But tomorrow there's going to be another video come out that I've already prepared. It's in editing right now. It's part 3 of this pathway to great singing, and it has to do with something called the singer's success path. And so if if we if I had known, if I had had a pathway, like a map, if I had had a singer's success path when I was in high school, and I knew stage 1, stage 2, all these different stages, and I knew that the exercises that I would be doing would cause me to do certain things. Let me tell you, I would have saved a lot of time. I would have saved years of time, and I would have added years of performing and singing. So everybody, be sure and try and catch tomorrow's video, The Pathway to Great Singing, part 3, and it's going to be all about. Much of it's going to be about the singer's success path, and also I've got a little bonus training there on lowering the larynx. Okay, Gunn says, like your video, especially about vowels, really helped me out to open my throat. Thank you so much. It's really hard to sing on D4 before. Now I can sing comfortably up to G4. Well, you know what, Gunn? That makes me so happy. That's the whole idea behind this, and that is awesome. Horizon says, I'm a vocalist of a heavy metal band, and this music genre need that style of yelling in songs. It's not healthy to pull the chest, but every metal singer tends to do it. Horizon, you're right. I don't know what is going to be the outcome in 10 to 20 years on the voices of the metal singers. I think the jury is still out. We know what happens to some of the rock singers, and the harder rock it seems like they have it worse than anybody. And so I'm concerned that the metal may, even though trying to use the false chords on screams and so forth, may take a heavy toll on the voice. Don't know. To be honest, I'm terrible in yelling. Yeah. So that's really actually one genre that if people tell me they're in metal, I usually tell them I don't teach scream, and I can get your voice maybe back to a healthy place. I find that a lot of metal or heavier singers sometimes have pitch problems too. That's actually been more prevalent than not with some of the metal singers that I've worked with. Okay, so so when doing exercises that cause the results, people can progress faster, and I think even simpler and maybe easier than exercises that, like Altu said at the bridge, when a teacher tells them to place something or sing into a place or open this or open that. And I think that this So what I want you to consider is that when this video comes out tomorrow about this pathway to the singer's success path, if you take a structured path and then add to it exercises that cause good things to happen, I think that that's a way of taking what can be maybe, 20, 30 years of time and bring it into maybe 5 or 10 years of really significant progress. And in our lifespan, um, that's making it simple and fast. So that's my proposition to you today is that's where I think there's some possibility of actually saving some time, some money, some energy, some psychology you know, of frustration and so forth to try and reduce the amount of time it takes to get to the point where we're the best that we can be, in the words of uh, Bur Burno. So anyway, okay, thanks for letting me chat with you today. For those of you who want to, and again, this is why I have the vocal type. If you haven't gotten your vocal type, be sure and check down in the description area. There is a PDF you can download, and it'll take you right to the test for the vocal type. It'll tell you all about your vocal types and you can download free exercises for them and work on those. Those exercises cause you to do certain things that will benefit you uh, based on your vocal type. So the bridge says to be a singer, one has to be a long-range thinker. Yeah, Alto, I know you have that perspective because you're also a guitarist. You're a musician, and I think musicians tend to have that long-term thinking that singers, frankly, do not. Singers think it's different than playing an instrument. And I think it is different for sure, but it may be actually harder because of so much of well, I think there's psychology in piano. And I mean, I've had piano lessons before, and I was more nervous playing the piano recital for 15 people than I am singing for 1,000 people. So go figure, right? Okay. Great to be with you guys today. I'm Chuck Gilmore with Power to Sing, and I want to again recommend that you listen to tomorrow's video that comes out on the Singer Success Path. Would love to get your comments on that. I think it might be a way to help us on the road to great singing, or to be the best we can be, and make it a little bit simpler and a little bit faster. Thanks, and thanks for being with me today. Have a good rest of the week. Take care.